In a quiet school in the city of Paris, Sid observes a group of girls alongside his friend Pierre, who laughs at his behavior, since the young man is completely in love with Angie, the new girl in the class. Wanting to impress the girl, Sid tries to do a trick with his skateboard, and although he completes the jump, he ends up colliding with a trash can. Finding the whole situation amusing, Angie approaches to return the boy's skateboard, and after he gets up, he offers to show the newcomer around the city. Excited, the young woman agrees to the idea and asks Sid for his phone number, but the young man doesn't have a cell phone. Quickly, Pierre approaches to help his friend, saying that Sid had to cancel his old number due to a past relationship. Therefore, Angie bids farewell to the pair and asks the boy to contact her when he gets a new phone. Later, Sid arrives home and speaks to his mother, telling her he needs her help to buy something important. Despite being confused by the sudden request, she hands over the money she has to the boy, saying that it's all she has at the moment. As night falls, Sid rushes to his shift at a city diner, where he is reprimanded by his boss for being late. Wanting to avoid any confrontation, the boy apologizes for what happened and asks if his boss could advance him some of his salary, as he needs it for something urgent. However, the boss doesn't care at all and gives him a fake €100 note, mocking his reaction. The next day, Sid goes to an antique shop and asks if they have any cheap cell phones for sale. The seller quickly offers dozens of different options to his customer, but the boy states that he only has €30. Despite this, the seller realizes that they had been holding a device for some time and decides to go and retrieve it. Upon seeing a completely customized phone, Sid gets excited, and the man starts listing all the phone's specifications. Furthermore, the man states that although the original price of that phone was €500, he can accept the €30, and without thinking twice, the boy decides to buy it. However, when Sid picks up the cell phone, he notices that the device doesn't work, and finding the situation funny, the salesman explains that he already knew that, and says that the young man can still use it as a way to show off. Indignant, the boy stares at the phone, which suddenly rings, leaving them both astonished. Realizing that the product still seems to be working, the salesman tries to take it from Sid, but the young man is faster and flees the store. Minutes later, Sid meets Pierre in the schoolyard, and after observing Angie for a few moments, the boy shows his new phone to his friend. Confident that he will get the girl's number, the young man approaches the group and states that he already has a new cell phone so they can talk. However, noticing the strange appearance of the device, the young women mock the boy and leave with Angie, who belittles their financial situation. Wanting to console his friend, Pierre explains that those girls are nothing but gold diggers, and together the students head to class. In the school laboratory, Virgil and his group of troublemakers begin to bother Sid and his friend, starting a fight in the middle of the room. The teacher quickly appears to calm the students down and begins her explanation. During class, the boys continue to bother Sid, while Angie and her friends laugh it all off. At that moment, the boy's cell phone activates itself and begins dialing, causing Margot, one of Angie's friends, to receive the call. Confused, the young woman answers to find out who it is and begins to hear a kind of demonic voice that starts to control her actions. Soon after, Margot turns on the Bunsen burner on her workbench and uses the device to set Clemencia's hair, one of her friends, on fire. Upon noticing the fire on the girl's head, Angie screams in despair, triggering panic in the classroom, where students knock their classmate down while the teacher extinguishes the fire with a fire extinguisher. Later, the school principal speaks with Margot alongside an investigator, who discovers that the number that called her cell phone is private, meaning her information is untraceable. Realizing there is nothing they can do, the men abandon the investigation for now and dismiss the students. The next day, Sid is sitting in his room, venting to himself about how in love he is with Angie. At that moment, the boy notices that his cell phone is on an active video call with Angie, and he becomes extremely confused, as he didn't even know the girl's number. Despite hearing what the young man was saying about her, the young woman acts normally, and Sid decides to ask her out on a date. After that, the boy starts to feel increasingly shy and hangs up the call, revealing the rest of the phone's interface. Thanks to this, Sid discovers that the cell phone called Margot the previous morning, and he begins to theorize about why this happened. Later, during class, Margot tries to apologize to Clemencia for what happened, but the girl refuses to forgive her and continues to ignore her. Soon after, Sid and Pierre discuss the mysterious phone calls, and suddenly, the teacher hits one of the boys with chalk. Annoyed by the conversation during the explanations, the man orders Sid to answer one of the questions, and at that moment, the demonic phone displays the result on the screen. Without thinking twice, the young man answers the question aloud, and believing that the boy used his cell phone to cheat, the teacher decides to throw it away. At the end of class, Sid runs to retrieve the device and is impressed to find that it doesn't have a single scratch. That night, the teacher is grading the tests in the classroom when he receives a call from the demonic phone, causing him to enter a state of hypnosis. In the morning, Sid wakes up to a hologram of a birthday cake in front of him, projected by his cell phone. Excited, the young man blows out the candles on his imaginary cake and is happy about the special function his phone has. Minutes later, the boy goes to visit Pierre at his house, and together the boys leave for school. During the trip, the pair discuss the special abilities the demonic phone possesses and decide to ask for its help in dealing with the professor, since they don't want to spend Sid's birthday stuck in detention. Seconds later, the device contacts the school's secretary and uses its technology to alter Sid's voice to sound like Professor Mazot's. Thanks to this, Sid manages to have his detention overturned and orders the woman to change the cafeteria food to a much tastier selection. Realizing that his cell phone is a surprisingly magical object, the boy gets excited and they continue walking through the city, passing in front of a travel agency. Curious, Sid wonders what else his phone is capable of doing, and the young people head to the city's skate shop, getting revenge on the rude salesman who mistreated them. Using the powers of the infernal cell phone, the boys make the man imitate various types of animals, while he throws himself around the store destroying everything. After that, Sid and Pierre leave the place with several shopping bags and realize that from now on, they can do whatever they want. At the same time, one of the school's cleaning ladies enters the teacher's classroom, where he is found lying on the floor with dozens of pieces of chalk in his mouth. Terrified, the woman calls out for Mazot, which causes the man to release a powerful blast of chalk from within his body, leaving the employee even more frightened. Later, at a nightclub, the young men continue with their revenge plans against everyone who wronged them, but at that moment, Pierre asks his friend to lend him his cell phone because he needs help with a family situation. However, Sid doesn't like the idea, and no matter how hard he tries to hand the phone to the boy, the device seems to refuse to work. Annoyed, Pierre throws his cell phone into the glass of water and leaves, leaving Sid indignant. The next day, the friends meet again and make amends about what happened, but suddenly, Pierre notices that the troublemakers have put up a fake picture of his mother on the wall of the building. Trying to stop everyone from continuing to see those things, the boy runs to remove them, and at the same time, a pair of motorcyclists steal Angie's iPod. Realizing what just happened, Sid sets off to chase the criminals on his skateboard, accompanied by Angie. At the same time, Virgil, the leader of the demented group, also decides to help Angie and sets off in his vehicle to capture the bandits. During the chase, Sid and Angie are nearly hit by vehicles on the street, and thanks to this delay, they end up being overtaken by the group of delinquents. Therefore, the boy decides to take a shortcut to surround the thieves, while Virgilio is getting closer and closer to catching up with them in his car. However, before they could do that, one of the troublemakers receives a call on Sid's cell phone, ordering him to put his hands on the steering wheel to cause a collision with the vehicle. Because of this, the group ends up having an accident at a construction site, causing them to be covered in cement. Soon after, Sid and Angie manage to catch up with the criminals, and after knocking them down, the girl begins to furiously beat one of them. Trying to prevent the confrontation from escalating, the police officers rush to break up the fight, and quickly, Sid states that those two are thieves. In a panic, the men try to escape and are pursued by the officers, while the squad commander decides to release the young men, who manage to recover Angie's iPod. The next day, Pierre tries to convince his friend to get rid of his infernal cell phone, saying that the device is claiming more and more victims. However, Sid doesn't care about any of that, and to demonstrate how amazing that phone is, he calls his history teacher, using his powers of hypnosis to get the answers for the next test. This impresses Pierre, and as they are leaving, the young men are captured by Virgil and the other delinquents, who had been listening to the conversation. Wanting to get the answers Sid received from the professor, Virgil forces the boy to talk and receives support from Clementine, who reveals that the young man had promised to give the answers to Angie. After that, the group of delinquents leaves, and the students proceed to take the test, where the teacher is wearing embarrassing clothes thanks to Sid's hypnosis. At the end of the day, Sid and Angie talk in the courtyard, and they grow closer and closer to each other. Excited by the boy's company, Angie invites him to the movies, and overjoyed by the invitation, the boy accepts without hesitation. While getting ready for the date, he decides to remove his braces, feeling even more confident about his appearance. Minutes later, Pierre shows up at his friend's house and reminds him that it's the night they're going to the big AC/DC concert. But Sid says he can't because he has a date with Angie. Upon hearing this, Pierre is devastated and states that he no longer even recognizes his friend, as he has never seen him act that way before. Despite all those accusations, Sid stands firm in his decision and says that they have always been very different from each other. Pierre then replies that his family had just as many problems as his friends, and that was one of the reasons they always supported each other, since they went through the same difficulties. After that, the boy leaves, and even though he's feeling sad about the argument, Sid continues getting ready for his date. Before leaving, the young man goes to talk to his mother, who reveals that she has received a reward for her work, as she has been recognized for her dedication over so much time. This news excites Sid, and he says goodbye to his mother, who hopes her son will have an unforgettable date with Angie. As he walks down the stairs, Sid is stopped by the boy his mother is babysitting, who grabs his suit jacket and asks to play with him. Noticing that the boy's hands are covered in chocolate, the young man becomes furious and yells at him to leave him alone. At that moment, the boy's mother asks if his boss agrees with him taking the night off, but Sid replies that he doesn't care and shouts that if he doesn't agree, he should disappear. What he doesn't realize is that his infernal cell phone heard the request, and his boss at the diner just received a call. As soon as he answers the call, the chef enters a state of hypnosis and goes to the kitchen, where he applies various ingredients around his head. Immediately afterwards, the boss walks towards the deep fryer, where he plunges his head in, causing everyone to scream in terror as the man falls to the ground lifeless. Later, Sid arrives at Angie's house and is overjoyed to discover that his friend is the daughter of Mike Bullitt, one of the most famous skateboarders in the world. After that, the couple heads to their date in a sports car, which Sid bought with the help of his infernal phone. While traveling through the city, the young people pass near Virgilio's vehicle, recognizing it as the car that was stolen from their father. Because of this, the troublemakers fly into a rage and decide to chase the young people. In the movie theater, Sid and Angie are watching a horror film, but at that moment, the boy realizes he left his phone in the car. Sid quickly runs to grab it, but is attacked by Virgil and his friends, who recover the car while the young man is lying on the ground. Minutes later, the boy returns to Angie in the movie theater and tells her what happened, admitting that he was just trying to look like a rich kid to impress her. However, Angie states that she never truly cared about that sort of thing, and demonstrates that she still wants to continue her date with Sid. So, the young people continue watching the movie, and the boy tries not to worry about the fact that he still hasn't recovered his infernal phone. In the middle of the city, Virgilio and the others celebrate having recovered the stolen vehicle. At that moment, Franklin, one of the delinquents, notices that Sid's cell phone is receiving a call and decides to answer it to further disrupt the boy's life. However, that was nothing more than another hypnosis by the demonic device, which controls the subject's mind, causing him to throw himself out of the car. Because of this, Franklin ends up falling in the middle of the road, and before he can get up to leave, he is hit by a truck and killed instantly. Far away, Sid and Angie leave the movie theater after the film ends, but before they can go, the couple is intercepted by a pair of police officers, who take them to the police station. Upon reuniting with Sid, Virgil and his friend David fly into a rage and accuse Sid of being responsible for all the chaos in the city. Wanting to prevent the situation from escalating, the police officers decide to release the troublemakers, and the officer begins questioning Sid about the stolen vehicle. Furthermore, the man asks how the boy has been controlling so many people, but before he can hear the testimony, the officer receives a call on the phone at his desk. When he answers, he enters a hypnotic state like everyone else and destroys the investigation papers. Immediately afterwards, the man lets the couple go unpunished, and as they walk towards the exit, Sid overhears the police officers talking about the accident that ended his boss's life. Realizing that the cell phone has been eliminating several people involved in his life, the boy begins to get scared and decides to say goodbye to Angie to resolve this immediately. So, Sid tries to destroy the demonic device, but nothing seems to work. So, the young man has a new idea and goes on an excursion into the catacombs, where he throws the device into a well more than 160 meters deep. The next day, Angie waits until her parents leave on their trip and goes down to the basement to meet with her group of friends so they can investigate how the attacks are happening. By gathering all the information they have, the young people realize that the phone may be acting on its own, and Sid may simply be a prisoner of its powers. Far away, Sid receives a visit from a group of excavators, who reveal that they have recovered the cell phone that the boy lost the previous night. Despite no longer wanting that thing tormenting his life, the young man doesn't want to put the men in danger and picks up the phone. Soon after, Pierre appears, and Sid is relieved to notice that his friend is no longer furious with him, because he realized that the real culprit behind all of this was the infernal telephone. At that moment, the cell phone starts ringing, and trying to find a way to destroy that thing, the young people decide to get ready to answer it. Sid then asks Pierre to hit the device with the vase if he starts acting strangely. No matter how hard he tries to convince the demonic cell phone that he no longer wants to live that way, the evil entity refuses to leave and says that the boy will love it much more easily if he has no one else to love. After that, the call ends, and Sid doesn't feel anything different happening, but Pierre ends up getting anxious and hits his friend, who falls to the ground. Angie's house phone starts ringing, and Clemency quickly answers and begins to sob repeatedly. However, it was just a joke by the girl, who claims that the call was made by her friend's mother, who asked her to take the pan off the stove. Minutes later, the group gathers in the kitchen to continue the conversation, but at that moment, Margot receives a call from her mother. The problem is that it was nothing more than a fake call made from the infernal phone, and after handing her cell phone to Virgilio, the girl starts grabbing knives from the drawers, stabbing herself in the body with them. This scene terrifies everyone, and despite the pain, Margot continues attacking herself until she collapses lifeless on the floor in front of her friends. Immediately afterwards, Virgil grabs the boiling pot and throws it towards Clementia, who is eliminated by the extremely high temperature, turning into a resin statue. In a panic, David strikes Virgilio with one of the appliances, and the repeated attacks ultimately lead to the young man losing his life. After witnessing that terrifying scene, Angie is in shock and hears her phone ringing, but before she can pick it up, it's stolen by her dog, who ends up being possessed by the voice. Trying to prevent his friend from getting hurt, David approaches to calm the animal, but ends up failing, causing the dog to attack him fiercely. Terrified, Angie runs to the second floor, where she hides to avoid the dog's attacks. Later, Sid and Pierre arrive at the girl's house, where she is being attacked by her mother, and to save her, the pair hit the woman with their skateboards. Soon after, the group heads towards the family's artisanal press so they can destroy the object, but they end up being intercepted by Virgilio, who reveals that he eliminated the family dog. Sid quickly moves to restrain the boy and prevent anyone from getting hurt, and Pierre runs with Angie to the press, while the young people confront each other. The problem is that the device needs a password to be activated, and while they try to guess the word, Sid continues confronting Virgil, who grabs a chainsaw to attack him. After a few attempts, the pair manage to activate the machine, and while the phone is being crushed, the boy performs a maneuver to deflect Virgilio's blow, which ends up hitting the electrical part of the table. Because of this, the boy is electrocuted, and at the same time, Sid notices that even crushed, the phone is still working. Therefore, the group runs towards the school, where they try to ask the teacher for help to destroy the device using chemicals. However, the cell phone has already recovered and is taking control of the principal, who forces the teacher to answer a call. Enraged, Angie knocks the man out with her skateboard, but it's too late, and she is forced to ingest one of the laboratory vials, causing her body to be destroyed. Soon after, the trio encounters a crowd of possessed people coming towards them, and they flee to avoid being eliminated. The problem is that the school has already been surrounded, and the students decide to lock themselves in the laboratory, where they decide to try to freeze the phone with liquid nitrogen. At that moment, the director wakes up and tries to stop the group, while the horde of possessed people destroys the doors and windows, managing to invade the place. Despite Angie's efforts to submerge the device in the nitrogen tank, she is stopped by the director, who destroys his own arm in an attempt to remove the phone. Immediately afterwards, all the possessed individuals set off to attack the students, and amidst the chaos, Pierre manages to recover the infernal phone. Sid then throws the tank to his friend, but Pierre has a cell phone placed near his ear, where he hears the demonic voice trying to control him. Despite this, the boy's willpower resists the curse, and he manages to freeze the phone, which turns off in a few seconds. Sometime later, the trio wakes up amidst a mountain of possessed bodies, and Sid asks how Pierre managed to do that. The boy replies that he had been wearing ear protectors the whole time, and realizing they had managed to overcome the curse of the demonic phone, the young people hug each other excitedly. Sometime later, the trio travels across the ocean on a ship and decides to release the nitrogen tank into the water to ensure that no other human being suffers at the hands of the infernal telephone.